Hi, my name is Adrian Miller-Bradford, and I will be doing the chapter summary for Chapter 6 for Coercion and Its Fallout by Murray Sidman. This chapter was about escape, and it starts off with the basic premise of ABA, behavior change through the altering of the environment, or as Sidman calls it, the changing the reinforcement contingency. Sidman states that we have no control over the consequences, or that sometimes we have no control over the consequences linked to a behavior. However, for those times that we do have control, we can alter the consequences and thus alter the associated behavior if our assessment of the situation is correct. If we have followed the essence of contingency analysis and correctly identified the behavior and the consequences, then we can alter the consequences to change the behavior or use the consequences to establish new behavior. This active process of behavior change does not just take place in a lab, but in our everyday life. Sidman uses an example of parents trying to extinguish bedwetting in their child. The consequences are thought to be attention, and so instead of changing the sheets right after it happens and giving the child attention then, they wait until the morning. And they also give attention for if the child learns something new or constructively playing. And so now, if their analysis is correct, the child's bedwetting should stop, and they should see an increase in the child's constructive playing and in learning new behavior and learning new things. If their analysis is incorrect, then the bedwetting will stay the same. The point is that there is no guessing. They have evidence to support either way. Sidman goes on to say that negative reinforcement may play a role in what we do. We may be trying to escape or avoid something aversive. The example he gives is attention, but in this case, it involves parents and a teenager. Sidman also states that sometimes our own reinforcers can limit our perspective, and then that's why it's good to have an outside observer come in. In the case of a teenager, the observer may suggest that the parents, instead of prying, that they just provide attentive attention, show interest, warm interest. And then also that they, instead of just showing the negatives about the behavior, that they show that they trust the teenager's judgment. And then if the contingency analysis is correct in regards to this type of attention, then there will be a change in the teenager's behavior. Instead of trying to escape or avoid their parents, they will seek out their parents and spend more time with their parents. Sidman notes that positive reinforcement is rare after childhood and even in infancy for some people, which is why there is a high demand for applied behavior analysts and others like psychiatrists and social workers. He urges us to watch for negative reinforcers in order to better understand and help each other. He goes on to state that escape is created through the process of negative reinforcement. We will try to escape, prevent, avoid any aversive situation, and whatever works, we will continue to do that. This is why negative reinforcers can also be punishers, just like taking away positive reinforcers. Sidman states that negative reinforcers and punishers can become linked. We can avoid the shocks, or we can get shocked. However, whatever we do before the shock will be punished. Sidman uses the example of an infant crying. Picking up the infant will stop the crying. However, we will, if it was loud noises that came before the infant's crying, we will stop doing any kind of loud noises. Punishment not only reduces or eliminates behavior, but also increases the frequency of other behavior. People will try to escape from punishment, and the person who is giving the punishment may be unaware of this link between punishment and escape. Some examples include divorces where one partner is coercive, or businesses with high rates of turnovers where the supervisors are coercive, or vandalism at schools. He says that if you destroy the school, you don't have to go. Punishment is so much a part of our interactions that we are not even aware of it most of the time. That's why we must learn more about escape. The next section discusses the learning that happens through escape from punishment. Yes, the process of punishment creates new behavior, like with the animal who learns to press the lever in order to stop the shocks. However, depending on the schedule of the shocks, the animal could become nothing more than a lever presser. That's all they do, just press the lever. There is no relaxation period as it would be in a positive reinforcement contingency. The animal just doesn't do anything besides get ready to press that lever in order to avoid the shocks. Sidman states that negative reinforcement is an effective teaching method if all you want to do is, or the goal is to create someone who just does what you want, exactly what you want. However, this will cause stress for the individual and leave them unable to adapt to changing environments, right? Because a negative reinforcement will also create more negative reinforcers. When environments become signals or for negative reinforcement, they become negative reinforcers. The example Sidman gives is employers who only use negative corrective action with their employees. The place of employment and the supervisors becomes a negative reinforcer, and a place and people to escape from. And as Sidman states, if you provide an escape, i.e. if you remove the roof from an operant chamber where a rat was being shocked, the rat is going to escape. It's going to use that open space to get away from the shocks or the environment that produced the shocks. Coercive environments and the people who create them, they must be escaped from. If people are controlled through escaping from aversive stimuli, then whoever or whatever created the coercive environment must also be escaped from. The aversive stimuli now includes the person or place that created it. And this could be a family or a parent that uses coercion, or a school or a teacher. So again, as soon as possible, and whatever way they can, the child or the student will escape. The last section discusses the close relationship between negative reinforcement and punishment. These two forms of coercion differ only between their effects on our behavior. The example Sidman uses is a boss's frown. Negative reinforcement, that is where our behavior removes the frown, while punishment is whatever caused the frown in the beginning, whatever behavior we were doing, we stop that. And then, so yeah, this close relationship between punishment and negative reinforcement also causes what Sidman calls accidental consequences. While a negative reinforcer increases the frequency of the behavior that allows escape or avoidance of the aversive stimuli, it also punishes whatever behavior took place before the appearance of the aversive stimuli. Sidman uses the example exploratory behavior. A rat that is trained to press a lever or learns to press a lever when shocks happen, if they happen to hear a mysterious noise or smell something mysterious and go to explore it, but it takes longer to get back to the lever, so the shock lasts longer. So they then are least likely to avoid or least likely to investigate mysterious sounds because the exploratory behavior was effectively punished. And so, through this relation between negative reinforcement and punishment, any environment we avoid or escape from will also serve as a punishment or will serve to punish any behavior that leads to it. For example, a rescue from drowning can lead to the avoidance of boats as transportation or using swimming as a means to cool down. And so, punishment and negative reinforcement are just two peas in a pod, and they are often locked in a vicious cycle. And so, my question is, what are some examples in your career or everyday life of the close relationship between negative reinforcement and punishment? Thank you.